Hey everyone, I'm Mike from theparkprodigy.com, and on today's video, we're going to break down everything you need to know about early entry over at Walt Disney World. And early theme park entry has quickly become my favorite extra Disney added benefit when staying at a Walt Disney World hotel, and that's one of the main reasons why we decided to break essentially all the basics down just to get you as prepared as possible if you do have a Walt Disney World vacation coming up. I'm really excited for this video, so let's go get started. Thank you all again so much for checking out this video. Like I said, we are about to break down Disney World Early Theme Park Entry, which is a new perk for guests booking a Walt Disney World vacation package or simply staying at a Walt Disney World hotel. Now, this does give you a slight advantage when it comes to avoiding longer lines later in the day. So if you are in the process of planning a Disney World vacation, if you have a Disney vacation coming up, you're going to want to be sure to stick around to the end of this video to just make sure that you do understand all of the moving parts with early entry at the theme parks. Starting with the basics, early theme park entry essentially allows Walt Disney World hotel guests and guests of some friendly neighbor hotels to enter the theme parks 30 minutes before regular park opening. Now, it's important to note that for the most part, Disney does allow guests into the parks before that 30-minute time actually starts. So really, you're kind of allowed to start going on rides at the 30-minute mark. Now, that's not guaranteed, but you'll see we do recommend to definitely arrive before the 30-minute mark just to make sure you do get the most out of your time while in the parks. The other cool thing is which theme parks are included in early access at Disney World, and it is all 4 of the major theme parks. So we do have Magic Kingdom, EPCOT, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. For guests who have visited Disney World in the past, this is very similar to the old school early morning hours, right? The only difference is that the cool thing is that this is actually going on at all 4 Disney theme parks every morning. It's 30 minutes at every single one of the Disney theme parks every morning. With the old school, early morning magic hours was only at, let's say, 1 theme park per day. So as you can imagine, the crowds would kind of generally gear towards that theme park, but we feel like this is kind of spread all of that out, and we really do love the new benefit. So what times are the Disney World early entry hours? And like we said, it's exactly 30 minutes before regular park opening. So of course, that does mean that it will fluctuate, right? Based on the park that you plan to visit. Typically what we see is over at Magic Kingdom, it's typically around 8:30 for your early entry hour starting time. Over at Epcot, it is typically around 8 o'clock. Over at Hollywood Studios, it is typically around 8 o'clock. And then over at Animal Kingdom, it is typically around 7:30. And like we said, we definitely recommend to, as you're getting closer to your trip, just stay up to date. Download the My Disney Experience app, go to waltdisneyworld.com, and just be sure to check out the park hours so you can plan and arrive accordingly. Now, it is important for me to note that you do need a theme park reservation to use the early theme park entry, meaning, so if you have a reservation over at Magic Kingdom, you can't do early entry at Epcot for only a half hour, then jump over to Magic Kingdom. You do need to have your reservation to start your day over at that theme park. When it comes to what time should you arrive, again, like we said, Disney will typically allow you into the parks, a couple minutes before the 30-minute mark actually starts, right? So we always recommend to actually arrive 30 to 45 minutes before the 30-minute mark even starts. So arrive 30 to 45 minutes before early entry at Disney World even begins. And again, if you were watching our videos, you already know that there's a lot that goes into even getting into the theme park, right? There's you have to figure out, hey, you got to get over to the park. There's security checks. You have to scan your ticket to get into the park. So there's a lot of moving parts and a couple extra steps and minutes that you'll lose along the way. So we just found that arriving early before the 30 minutes even starts, 30 to 45 minutes is typically what we will do, and it will just allow you to be some of the first guests into the park and just really allow you to get on that many more rides with lower wait times. Okay, so now over to the next question, and that is, so who gets early theme park entry at Disney World? And like we said, any guest staying at an official Walt Disney World Resort hotel will have early theme park entry to the 4 Disney World theme parks. Now, it's important to note that the guests do have to be, staying in the hotel, meaning that they have to be on the reservation, right? But there's also a couple of, you'll see there's a couple of friendly neighbor hotels that we will mention as well that do have the early theme park entry also. Okay, so the official list of Walt Disney World hotels that do include early theme park entry, and over at the value resorts, we do have Disney's All-Star Movies Resort, we have the All-Star Music Resort, we have All-Star Sports Resort, we have Pop Century, we have Disney's Art of Animation, And then we do have the campsites over at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort. Over to the moderate, we have Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, the Coronado Springs Resort, Disney's Port Orleans Resort French Quarter, Disney's Port Orleans Resort Riverside, and we do have the cabins over at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort. Over to the Disney Deluxe Resorts, we do have Disney's Wilderness Lodge, the Contemporary Resort, the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, Disney's Polynesian Village, Animal Kingdom Lodge, the Beach Club Resort, the Yacht Club Resort, Disney's Boardwalk Inn. We also have the Disney Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, and then the other couple of the other ones that are over in the villa category are going to be Old Key West Resort, and then we also have Disney's Riviera Resort and Disney's Saratoga Springs Resort. So then moving over to some of those friendly neighbor hotels that do come with the early theme park entry as well, we have the Disney World Dolphin, the Disney World Swan, the new Swan Reserve, the Four Seasons Resort Orlando, Shades of Green, Hilton Orlando Bonnet Creek, the Waldorf Astoria Orlando, B Resort and Spa, Lake Buena Vista, Hilton Orlando Buena Vista Palace, Hilton Orlando Lake Buena Vista, Holiday Inn Orlando, the Doubletree Suites by Hilton Orlando, the Wyndham Garden Lake Buena Vista, and the Wyndham Lake Buena Vista. So those are hotels, everyone. And the next question that typically comes to mind is, how early should I leave my hotel? What should my strategy be in the morning? So we're going to go and we're going to jump now over to the parks, and we're going to start with Magic Kingdom. And here's typically the strategy that we would recommend for Magic Kingdom Park. So how early should you leave your hotel before using the early entry? If you're taking one of the shuttle buses, we would recommend you leave your hotel about 75 minutes beforehand, just to make sure that gives you enough time, especially if you're staying over at those moderate resorts or over at some of the larger villa resorts. Saratoga Springs specifically comes to mind, where there might be a couple bus stops. You just want to make sure you give yourself enough time. If you're staying at one of the Bay Lakes hotels where you're taking a boat, we would say leave about 45 minutes beforehand. Over at the monorail, this is a tough one because the monorail can be so unpredictable, unfortunately, but we would recommend 45 to 60 minutes, just depending on, I guess, how the monorail's running that day. And if you're driving over to Magic Kingdom Park, we'd recommend to leave about 90 minutes, and that's pretty early, but we would still recommend 90 minutes before you plan to use the early theme park entry. Okay, so now from a ride list, right? What are your priorities? What should you be hitting first? So here are the list of rides that are included with early theme park entry, and I'm actually going to list them in the order that we would typically recommend to use them in. So we're starting first with Peter Pan's Flight. We have Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. We have Space Mountain. We have Big Thunder Mountain, and then essentially after that, everything else is kind of, go as you please. We have Mickey's PhilharMagic, Astro Orbiter, Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, It's a Small World, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, Mad Tea Party, Prince Charming Regal Carousel, The Barnstormer, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Tomorrowland Speedway, Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover, Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid, and Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress. So for Magic Kingdom, right, typically what we will recommend to do for a lot of our clients is we actually do see the benefit of upgrading to the individual Lightning Lane for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Just from an average wait time standpoint and a saving standpoint, we still think that there's value there. And so typically that's what we'll recommend. And if you do the early park entry and you get on Peter Pan's Flight and you kind of team that up, right, with the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train individual Lightning Lane, it's kind of a 1-2 punch, and we do feel like you'll save a tremendous amount of time. And it just allows your entire day to be set up that much more. It is going to be interesting with Tron opening at Magic Kingdom Park very soon, but they are going to be running this through a virtual queue system similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. So I don't think it's going to impact the early entry game plan much just yet, but we're definitely going to keep an eye on that for everyone watching at home. Okay, so moving over to EPCOT, how early should you leave your hotel before going to EPCOT? Same kind of concept. So if you're taking one of the shuttle buses from the Disney theme parks, we recommend 60 minutes. The boats over at EPCOT and Hollywood Studios do run a little bit smoother, so we're recommending, same thing, 45 minutes over here. The monorail, if you're taking the monorail and then transferring over at Ticket and Transportation and then taking the monorail to EPCOT, we actually recommend to leave 90 minutes before, just because that is pretty time consuming. If you're driving, we recommend 60 minutes. And for the Disney Skyliner, we recommend 60 minutes. It's important to note, if you're driving for Magic Kingdom, the reason why we actually recommended 90 minutes is because you don't park and just walk straight to the park. You have to park at the Ticket and Transportation Center, then take the monorail or the ferry boat over to the theme park. So that's the reason why it's a little bit less over at some of these other Disney theme parks. So from a ride standpoint, right, what are the Disney World early entry rides over at EPCOT? And this is in the order of importance. And we have Test Track, we have Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Soaring Around the World, Beauty and the Beast Sing-Along, Mission Space, Spaceship Earth, and The Seas with Nemo and Friends. Now, you'll see Guardians of the Galaxy is not on this list, and again, it's because it is still going through a virtual queue at this time. So even if you do early entry, you won't be able to get on this ride during those hours. You do have to do the virtual queue. And the other interesting thing about EPCOT that we will say is if you're coming from, let's say, any of the Disney Boardwalk resorts or the Dolphin Swan Reserve, right, it might be beneficial to actually you go on Remy's Ratatouille Adventure first. That's because you're going to be walking in through the back of the park, which is called International Gateway. So it just makes the most sense. It's right there. You'll get that ride out of the way. And typically it does, we'll have almost as long of a wait time as Test Track or Frozen Ever After later on in the day. If you're coming in from the front of the park, right, you do Test Track or Frozen Ever After, whichever one works best for you. Typically we do Test Track, and then maybe if you show up early enough and you really get Test Track out of the way early enough, then you can go and hop on Frozen Ever After, and you might still be an hour in at that point when you're done with both rides. But hey, you got two of the most popular rides out of the way within the first hour. We think that's a pretty solid start to your day. Okay, so moving over to Hollywood Studios. How early should you arrive at Hollywood Studios? Kind of similar game plan. We're going with the buses. We have 60 minutes. On-site boats, we're leaving 45 minutes before. Driving, we have 60 minutes. And the Disney Skyliner, we have 60 minutes. So over to the rides. What rides are open for early entry over at Hollywood Studios, and what are the priorities? So for this, we're of course starting with the very popular Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Next, we do have Slinky Dog Dash. After that, we have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. We have Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. We have the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Toy Story Mania, and then Alien Swirling Saucers. So for this, similar game plan for Magic Kingdom, what we typically would recommend is if you can, upgrade and get the individual lightning lane for Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. And then in our opinion, what that allows you to do is it allows you to get on Slinky Dog Dash for the early theme park entry. We also feel that Slinky Dog Dash is just as tough to get, a Genie Plus as Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, right, in a lot of situations. So that's why it makes it difficult, to kind of bank on, even if you're upgrading, getting Slinky Dog Dash, out of the way. So we just feel like this really makes the most sense. And we also see the value in the individual lightning lane for Star Wars Rise of the Resistance just because of how long that wait time can be. And so last but not least, we are moving over to Animal Kingdom early theme park entry, which will be your earliest morning out of all of these if you do decide to do early entry for all of the Disney theme parks. And so similar game plan. If you're taking the buses, 60 minutes, driving 60 minutes, and that's really it for Animal Kingdom to get over to that park. But from a ride standpoint, here are the rides that are open in the order that we recommend to go on them. So Avatar Flight of Passage, we have Expedition Everest, we have Navi River Journey, we have Dinosaur, and It's Tough to Be a Bug. So this is probably one of the toughest parks to really plan and get the most out of your time. And that's because almost every single person that is going for early theme park entry at Animal Kingdom is going for Avatar Flight of Passage. And I've done, rope drop early entry to this theme park, and I've waited 2.5 to 3 hours to get onto this ride. It's absolutely bananas. That was also in the middle of November when it can get pretty busy. But the important thing is that if you can, my honest opinion would be to do individual lightning lane here, just because it's so unpredictable. Or if not, if that doesn't work for you, you have to make sure you're some of the first people inside of this park, right? Because when we did that, me and my friends, we showed up, I think early entry was at 8 o'clock. We showed up at 8 o'clock. And at that point, there was already a huge line waiting to get into the park. So again, you could see the benefit of showing up early. If I had to pick one though to absolutely show up early, it is of course Animal Kingdom, which is already the park that you have to show up the earliest in the morning. But overall, as you could see, we do see the benefit. We do feel like there's an advantage to getting a bunch of rides out of the way with some very little wait times. And that is the list. Those are, I was surprised by how many lists we had. But that is the guide, everyone, to the basics on Disney World early park entry. I do hope that you all found this video helpful. And if you are in the process of planning a Disney World vacation and you do want more additional tips and tricks videos like this, just be sure to go subscribe to our channel, as we have a lot more similar videos coming out in the coming weeks. But I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all again so much for checking out this video. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.